There are moments in The Young and the Restless when the air in Genoa City seems to thicken, when every glance carries weight and every silence feels like a warning. This is one of those moments where the polished surface of the Newman legacy begins to crack under the strain of something far more dangerous than corporate rivalry or romantic betrayal. This time, the threat is deeply personal, corrosive, and impossible to spin into a strategic advantage. It is the slow, suffocating truth of Nick Newman's descent into severe addiction, and the ruthless determination of Victor Newman to drag that truth into the light, no matter the cost. Victor has never been a man who tolerates weakness, especially not within his own bloodline. To him, the Newman name is not just a legacy, it is a fortress, one built on control, discipline, and absolute authority. Yet, what happens when that fortress is compromised from within? What happens when the son he once believed could stand apart from his empire becomes the very symbol of its fragility? Victor's response is not hesitation, not compassion in its gentlest form, but pressure unyielding, calculated, and relentless. He does not ask for the truth. He corners it, forces it into existence, and demands submission from anyone who dares to conceal it. Nick, however, is not a man easily broken. Even now. His struggle is not simply against the addiction that has tightened its grip around his life, but against the suffocating expectations that have followed him since birth. For years, he fought to define himself outside of Victor's shadow, rejecting the cold pragmatism that governs his father's world. And yet here he stands, caught in a different kind of trap, one where his own choices have betrayed him, where the illusion of control has dissolved into dependency. The anger within him is not just directed outward, but inward, festering and volatile. He knows the truth Victor is demanding, but admitting it feels like surrender, like confirming every doubt his father ever had about him. The situation becomes even more combustible with the looming presence of Adam Newman, the ever-complicated architect of disruption within the family. The possibility that Adam was the one who exposed Nick's addiction to Victor does not feel like a coincidence, it feels like strategy. Adam has always existed in a space where love and resentment intertwine, where every action can be interpreted as both a gesture of loyalty and an act of sabotage. If he revealed Nick's secret, it was not done lightly. It was a move calculated to shift the emotional balance, to force a confrontation that would inevitably fracture the already fragile trust between father and son. And this is where the story sharpens into something far more dangerous than a simple family dispute. Because once suspicion takes root, it grows quickly in the Newman household. Nick begins to question not just Adam's motives, but the very foundation of his relationships. Was this an act of concern, or a betrayal disguised as intervention? Did Adam see an opportunity to weaken him in Victor's eyes, to elevate himself by exposing Nick's vulnerability? These questions do not find easy answers, and in their absence, they fuel a quiet, burning rage. Victor, meanwhile, remains steadfast in his approach, though beneath his commanding exterior there is a flicker of something more complicated. His anger is real, but so is his fear. He has spent a lifetime building an empire that could withstand any external threat, but he has no blueprint for confronting the internal collapse of his own family. His method, force, pressure, domination, is the only language he knows. Yet in this situation, it may be the very thing that pushes Nick further away, deeper into isolation, and potentially further into self-destruction. As the tension escalates, the emotional battlefield shifts rapidly. Nick is no longer just defending himself against Victor's accusations. He is fighting to retain a sense of dignity in a moment that threatens to strip him bare. The weight of expectation, the shame of addiction, and the sting of betrayal converge into a single overwhelming force, and in that pressure, something begins to fracture. Not just within Nick, but within the entire Newman dynamic. Adam watches this unraveling with a perspective that is as unsettling as it is revealing. He understands what it means to be judged, to be seen as the problem, the outsider, the one who disrupts the order. In many ways, Nick's current situation mirrors Adam's own past, though the circumstances differ. This parallel creates a tension that is almost unbearable, because it raises a possibility that few are willing to acknowledge, that the lines between victim and instigator, between protector and betrayer, are far more blurred than anyone would like to admit. And so the story moves forward not with resolution, but with escalation. Every decision carries consequences that ripple outward, affecting not just the individuals involved, but the entire structure of the family. Victor's insistence on truth threatens to become a form of control that suffocates rather than saves. Nick's resistance risks transforming into self-sabotage, a refusal to accept help that could ultimately cost him everything. And Adam's role, ambiguous and shifting, continues to inject uncertainty into an already volatile situation. What makes this storyline particularly compelling is not just the drama, but the psychological depth that underpins it. These are not simple conflicts with clear heroes and villains. They are layered, messy, and deeply human. The anger that drives Victor is inseparable from his love. The defiance that fuels Nick is intertwined with his pain. And the actions of Adam, however calculated they may seem, are rooted in a lifetime of seeking validation in a family that has rarely offered it freely. As the walls close in, the sense of inevitability becomes almost palpable. Something must give. The question is not whether the truth will come out, but what will be left in its wake. Will this confrontation force Nick to confront his addiction and begin the difficult path toward recovery, or will it push him further into denial and isolation? Will Victor learn that control is not always the answer, or will he double down, risking the complete alienation of his son? And where will Adam stand when the dust settles on the side of redemption, or deeper in the shadows of manipulation? In the world of the young and the restless, these questions are never answered bisuhulat or quickly. They linger, evolve, and deepen, much like the characters themselves. And it is in that lingering tension, that refusal to offer easy resolutions, that the true power of the story lies. Because at its core, this is not just a tale of addiction or confrontation. It is a story about the fragile nature of trust, the destructive potential of unspoken truths, and the painful reality that sometimes the greatest battles we face are not against our enemies, but against the people we love and ourselves.